Now it is time for our final speaker. And I would like to invite Mari Koppanen up on stage. You've already met her right before the lunch break. And she is going to talk about how fungi can shape our understanding of future material possibilities. Welcome.
Thank you, Lena, and very nice to meet you, and I'm very pleased to present you my presentation, Polypores, Yeast and Lichen, How Fungi Shape Our Understanding of Future Materials. So I'm a designer doing my PhD in artistic research at the moment at the design department at Oslo National Academy of the Arts. And I'm telling this to you because today you have already done a little activity, and during this presentation I would ask you to do another little activity. If you don't want to be part of the research, then just do nothing, but there will not be any names or anything going back to track who has left any notes, or there will be no connection to know who has left the activity notes, yes. So my educational background is in furniture and clothing design. And I have a very traditional background of cabinet making from Malmsten School from Stockholm. When I started my studies at KIO in 2017, I quite soon became interested in fungus and seeing fungus as a material resource in the field of art and design. Little did I know that this would define my whole work for the upcoming years. I'm originally from central Finland and grown up in a family of tradition of picking and eating mushrooms. And as a child, I was always fascinated about the mushroom books. I was always trying to find the most poisonous mushroom or the best mushroom in the book. So the interest already comes from my childhood. And this is one of the first artistic experiments I made with mushrooms, simply trying to grow them by myself. So this is a pink oyster mushroom growing in my kitchen. This was back in 2017 when there were fewer references in the field of art and design and fungi. But now more artists and designers have become interested in seeing fungi as a resource or a material substance. Usually when we talk about fungus, we think about these edible or non-edible mushrooms, but the kingdom of fungi is much wider than we think. Mushrooms have long traditions in the human history as spiritual and medical and nutritional uses. Fungus is one of the most crucial organisms in our ecosystem and plays a major role when recycling organic materials. And today we have already talked a lot about fungi, but just a brief explanation of the anatomy of it. When we talk about the mushroom, we actually only talk about the visible part of it. So it's the physical little mushroom popping from the ground. But the fungal element is much wider. So fungi is the general word when talking about the fungal organism, and it includes the fruited body and the root, the mycelium. So basically mushroom is the fruit of fungus, and most fungi, they don't produce mushrooms. Yeasts, molds, they are also fungi. We are also likely to see mushroom as a plant, even though genetic comparisons say that they're genetically closer to humans than to plants. The reason why it's so difficult to cure fungal infection in your body is because the human body thinks the fungal spores are you. Mushrooms have to also breathe, they just don't have lungs. Fungus is much more than just the visible. It's the root of all growth, and it has been here long before us and will live long after we live. It's one of our oldest ancestors. I'm going to walk you quickly through one of my most meaningful projects so far, which was this project We Grew Together from 2019. We Grew Together is a culturally sensitive material study of Fomes fomentarius, which is a polypore mushroom growing mainly on birch and beech trees. And this is one of the most common polypores in Nordic forests. And well, for example, in Finland, this is probably the most common polypore. It's not seen as a welcomed guest, but as a harmful parasite in the forest. Inside the mushroom, there's a flexible and soft layer which can be turned into this leather-like material you saw on the table. The material is processed manually by peeling the fungus and stretching out the one specific layer. It's carefully separated from the cuticle and spore tubes, stretched out and left to dry. Preparing looks easy, but it takes a lot of knowledge and technique to get this into this material. Amado is a material of its own. It has naturally different qualities. It's isolative, it's absorbent, it's renewable, vegan, and naturally antiseptic. Before medical cotton, it was used by dentists and doctors as a natural band-aid. Unlike lab-grown fungal materials, Amado does not require any artificial binders, glues. It's simply a nature's creation. Here you can see better where the amado layer or the so-called trama layer is located in the mushroom. So the trama layer is in between the spore tubes and the hard white cuticle. In central Romania, in the village of Corund, there's a handicraft tradition that is still practiced related to this material. This is Mr. Imre. He's one of the oldest mushroom artisans in the village. The knowledge of the handicraft has been passed from one generation to another, from mouth to mouth. And the traditional amado designs have stayed the same the past 200 years. There are approximately only 7 families practicing the craft in the village, and the average age of the workers is very high, so it's likely that this craft will disappear in the upcoming 10 or 20 years. Here you can see the choreography of how the material is processed from the forest to a ready product. The mushrooms are harvested, peeled, and the material is stretched out. I traveled to Corund to spend some time with the village and the artisans to learn the mushroom processing and also to observe what this material and this handicraft does to the village. This project revolutionarily changed my ethical approach to my own praxis, to this material and the whole fungal organism. After not only seeing how the mushroom grew and was processed, I got experience what it does to the village. So my greatest challenge in the project was to work in a culturally sensitive way. I investigated the cultural patterns inside the village and chose one specific act they practice, which was the mushroom picking. I wanted to design my collection around this specific action. And the 3 pieces I designed was this ceramic piece of jewelry. When amado is burned, it creates a soft, pleasant smoke that keeps wild animals and insects away. The organic shape resembles a polypore or a mushroom. It's more of a symbolic piece of jewelry where you can burn stretch of amado to create smoke and to keep the insects and animals away. Amado has naturally antiseptic qualities. So I wanted to create these natural band-aids for the workers because I saw that they have cuts in their hands. They work with all traditional tools that are not so ergonomic and they're very sharp. Inspired by their own pressing techniques, I created these band-aids. And the third piece was a piece of clothing. As this village is Hungarian-speaking and they identify themselves more as Hungarian than Romanian, I looked into the Hungarian folk costumes. My so-called customer would be a woman, because I wanted to direct this collection to the lady in the family to highlight the inequality in the mushroom processing, because women are not invited to the mountains, so they do not attend all stages of the mushroom processing. And I just returned from Romania again, and we went there to film the tradition with a little team of filming, and I'm happy to show you the first demo of this material. This is a documentary that will be coming out next year.
Készen van a falon. Meg van csinálva.
Let's see. Yes. So here are some of my more recent works I have continued as I have continued working with the material, using it as a substitute for animal leather. There's a little bag collection I designed, and the bottom of the bag is made from birch, and it symbolizes the growth of Fomes fomentarius in birch forest. Fomes furniture collection I designed last year, and the whole inspiration was the organic shape of the mushroom in different stages of growth. This collection has attracted widespread interest in the media, and in February it will be exhibited at the Stockholm Furniture Fair. I still work in close collaboration with the village, and this is still an ongoing project. Ever since starting working with Amado, I have been developing new techniques to dye, texturize, sew, and treat the material together with the artisans. The European Commission just chose this as one of the World Partnership projects. And the aim is not only to improve the social, economical situation in the village, but also enable the continuation of this craft. The aim of my PhD research is to observe fungi from different angles in relation with human and expand our understanding and perceptions of the world by rejecting traditional ideas of the human and non-human. During my earlier works, the man, the maker, or the culture had guided my design process. But what would happen if we moved the focus from the human to the organism itself? How would fungus want to be presented? What are the qualities, the colors, or the patterns that have been on this earth for ages? Parallelly with Amado, I also work with SCOBY that you had the chance to test out on the table. So SCOBY forms during the fermentation process of kombucha drink. It's a byproduct of the fermentation. It's a cellulose-based biofilm floating on the air surface of the liquid. This biofilm breaks down the sugars and turns them into alcohol, carbon dioxide, and acids. It's weaved by yeast and bacteria, but almost all of it is cellulose. So technically, this is not a fungus, but it is a combination of cellulose, yeast, and bacteria. The material grows from 7 to 20 days in a container, and when it reaches approximately 2 or 3 centimeters, I harvest it from it. It loses almost 90% of its thickness when it's dried. And this is the activity, so you have gotten some samples on your tables, and I would like to ask you to be part of my research. Please choose one in the table that would write down and discuss together with your partners around the table what this material, where do you see it in your body? So this is dried SCOBY. So the living form you saw on the table, but this is when it's so-called death format. You will have approximately 5 minutes to talk, and I'll get back to you soon. Okay, I hope you had enough time to discuss with your companions. Is there any table who would like to share a few words or thoughts they wrote down? Kåre.
So we wrote down that it smells a bit like autumn, sweet, nice, a bit like Christmas. We think the touch and tactility is somewhere between plastic and an animal skin, and also a bit sticky. In brackets, maybe a bit sensitive to humidity. Appearance is it's translucent and a bit like preserved flesh, maybe ham. Animalic. And we have more key words for the rest. It's like delicate membrane, skin, malleable.
Wow, thank you so much. Is there any other table we will have time for one more comment? Or is it only the speakers who want to share? You don't need to if you don't want to. It is okay, we can then later on talk a bit more about this. It was very interesting for me to hear what you think, and I'm so eager to see the answers you have left. So my research strongly emphasizes the symbiosis between human and fungus. It challenges the boundaries of contemporary design and material possibilities. My aim is to garner an understanding of future material possibility applications on fungal materials, yet I want to keep my attention on approaching this extensive organism with sensitivity and respect. Materiality and materials are so much more than just the physical appearances or their performance qualities. There are always cultural, social, ecological, political, psychological aspects connected to them. This is a picture of my exhibition from last spring called A Baby, a Beast. SCOBY is often referred as mother because it creates this eternal circle of birth and growth. And when it makes the new SCOBY, it's often called as a baby. But I wanted to take this into a bigger scale and made it into a huge SCOBY, which you can see in the pool. So it's also quite a beast. Fungi not only offer us material possibilities, but also provide us with pigments. I've been mainly focusing on natural and fungi-based pigments, and especially pigments from lichen. I find it very important to create with my hands, as I am more of a maker, and I think through my hands. So a big part of my work is the sensorial and aesthetical balance in my works. A very simple way to illustrate the material qualities is to use something existing in the human world. While doing my experimental material research, I sort of have this dual role as a researcher and designer. And by illustrating the material possibility through an object, I try to make it more tangible. Fungi have caused us have caused strong feelings in people who have understood their world, but also caused fear in those who never felt connection with this organism. We easily experience fungus as unappealing or scary. My intention is not to present it as threatening, but instead as empathic, potential, and relatable. We don't have common language with fungus, but what would it say if it could talk? The closest we can come is to use our imagination, and I try to work as a communicator or translator somewhere in between the human and fungus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mari. So, time is running here because it's so interesting and there are so many things to think about. So, we're a little over time and it's soon 5 o'clock. And at 5, the symposium time ends. So, we've been thinking about how to solve this. And I think it's so important that before we all leave the room here, that we get to sum up on all the things that we've heard and thought about today. Since we only have a few minutes, it's going to be a very short sum up. But I'm thinking that for me, there are so many impressions and so many thoughts in me right now, and I bet it's in you too. And I'm thinking about what we can bring with us into the future from this. And I was thinking after Janna and Malin's presentation, and it stayed with me for a while now, or all day, with how to become that fourth sister again. Maybe we've forgotten about it. It's probably something that we already know. It's something that we as humans, somewhere it's knowledge that we have, but we've forgotten about it. And maybe this day, there's something that we can bring with us to rethink or think again about how we can invent that or dig that out from ourselves. The last minutes here, I would also like to give part of the word, some words to you too in the audience, and maybe there is some of you that would like to share your kind of thoughts after we've been together here all day. Is there anybody who has something that is on their mind that they really want to share with us when it comes to the future? Well, we're gonna just hope. Yeah, let's say just hope. And do. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. And I would like to invite all our speakers up on stage.
So, just a very big thank you to all our experts on stage, and a very big thank you to all our experts in the audience for all your amazing questions and good discussions. And we have been out in Ås picking some flowers that we're going to give you. And a big applause again. Thank you. And I wish everyone a really good evening.